Hey, this is Anney.
And Samantha.
And welcome to Stuff One Never Told You, a production of iHeartRadio.
And welcome to another Feminist Around the World. And today we're doing something a little different. I feel like I've done a lot of different things recently already in 2025. And you know, with it being a new year, things are revamping. And honestly, we've had a lot of good content, which I love, which means like some of our other stuff has been kind of pushed aside, like our typical episodes. So these are good times where we can do current affairs or information sometimes. So what we're doing today is it's just the mere fact that there's so much information out there. And I feel like sometimes it's really hard to figure out who we should trust and who we should not trust. So I thought we could all collectively, and I'm saying this as all of us, come together and start a list. And because it is chaotic right now, we need all the help we can get. Being one person, being one small group of people is not always, is not possible for us to hit the nail on the head, like get it perfectly right every time. And we know sometimes without knowing, we might be talking or suggesting about problematic people. We don't know the new histories. We don't know what's going to come up. I think we've had this conversation when we revisited some of our feminists around the world and had to be like, well, that didn't end well.
Yeah.
Because good starts may not have good intentions, and we don't know that till later on, right? And I feel like that could be a theme in itself. But with all of that, we do need your help. So if there are people that we are talking about, if there are issues that we're talking about, if there are sources that we're talking about that are problematic and we don't realize it, please let us know gently and kindly. You've already let us know when we have weird ads.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
We appreciate that very much. We need that for information on people. But we also need your suggestions on who you feel are reliable resources as well. And again, I want to put this caveat, and Anney and I were just talking before essentially starting the episode, that people are not perfect. And for some reason, especially when it comes politically, we are expecting perfection. And if they have a blemish, and don't get me wrong, some issues are like, yeah, red flag. Mm-hmm. we need to dismiss these people. But some level of like imperfection, and we disregard them completely. And if they are not the picture perfect person, or if they have grown. Like I will say, if you had seen my opinions from 1999, 2001, 2002, I would not be friends with me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so a lot of that, of course, that was 20 years ago, and it took 20 years of learning. It took 20 years of unlearning as well in trying to form my own opinions. And even now, sometimes my own opinions, I'm like, is that correct? I need to do some more research. You know?
Yeah.
So with all of that, we know everybody's not perfect. There might be some things that they have said that you felt was problematic or offensive, and I get that. We are individuals, but putting them on a pedestal to expect perfection is only asking them to fail and you to feel disappointed.
Yeah. Yeah. And people do. I mean, the people you truly want to aspire to, in my opinion, are people who like you, who like me. Not to say to aspire to us, but you like learn. You're like, okay, that was not a good. Right. Let me rethink that. Like the people who are willing to hear, okay, I should look at that again. I should research. I think those are the people you want.
Exactly. And essentially, we and they are doing the work for you, which is beautiful. And these are the people that I'm talking about, and these are the sources. So I thought we would highlight several, including a big chunk of people from TikTok and social media that you can follow as well, because that is kind of how I'm getting my news and resources, because I don't completely trust the media right now. And I know I'm not the only one. A lot of people are bowing down. Again, social media in itself can be problematic, and that's that conversation too. So this is why I'm saying look for people, look for individuals, and then give us good resources too, please. And I thought we'd highlight a few from our own group, from the iHeart family, which includes Bridget Todd. Obviously, her work is literally in keeping the internet honest and fighting against disinformation and misinformation, and digging into the depths of the lack of representation of the marginalized people from spaces like social media and tech spaces. So If you're not following her, if you're not listening to There Are No Girls on the Internet, you're missing out. And then she's got 10,000 other projects because she is a busy, 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 busy woman. She's also part of our segments sometimes, and she's blessed us with her information. Hopefully she'll be back on soon.
Yeah.
Just FYI. But with all that, you should be following her. Margaret Killjoy, and she's been working to help fight against fascism for a long time now. And she highlights people in history who have pushed back against dictatorships and oppressors and all these things, and I love it. And has some really sound advice on how to survive the end of the world. She lives on survivalist ideals, and I love it. So if you want some information, she's great. She also has a lot of great fiction out there. You should also read her books. And of course, Raquel Willis, she's an old friend of the show, old friend of How Stuff Works, honestly. She used to work for How Stuff Works way back when, and has written article after article advocating for the rights of the queer community and telling the stories of those who've been unjustly persecuted or harassed and abused by the system. So someone definitely you should be watching as well, especially as a trans voice. She has a lot of great information and works with some really great organizations. I would follow her recommendations as well. So there's a few right there. From the social media tracks, I decided I wanted to hop all over the place essentially because we want different types of information. We have Coach Jackie J. That's her username on TikTok. These are all from TikTok, the ones I'm telling you right now. And these are either their names or usernames. You can just look them up. And she does women's sports related content and does some amazing content. I really love her. Wanted her on for the Olympics and Paralympic stuff. Maybe we can still get her on. I know she's pretty busy. But she does some great information, great details, and is very passionate about women's sports. We have Alexis Nicole you can find her everywhere. She's pretty big now, but she has great foraging content, very cutesy style. She's so cute. She's so cute. And she comes on and tells you what to eat and what not to eat so you don't die. So that's nice. And I feel like that's a good surviving skill to have.
Yeah, generally.
In general, but I'm just like, if things go awry.
Yeah.
She's someone, maybe her book would be good. And then we have Dara Star Tucker, which you guys know because we've had her on this show. And she is great with good historical information and overall good information. She really fights disinformation and misinformation as well and talks a lot about Black history, including in music and entertainment. So definitely someone you should be following. We have Sophia Pfeifner, Fifner, who does content on civic engagement. That is her own content. And it's actually really joyful. She is a very positive individual. And I feel like when you're in this type of profession, to be positive is a strength and trait that's unusual. So someone that you should definitely follow. Black.woman.owned, and this is on TikTok as well. The creator came on and decided to do a comprehensive list with suggestions from other people and vetting Black businesses that are owned by Black women and brands that you should support. Really big right now. I've complained repeatedly about where to go. They've got a list. So there's that. Evan, the bioethicist, and their tag is Gay G Town Bay. GayGTOWNBAE. And they are Evan, the bioethicist, and they talk about misinformation and disinformation as it relates to public health. Really important right now as a lot of the federal organizations are shut down and that we are not a part of WHO. So really good to go listen to and find out information as she is teaching us about things in public health. We have Dr. Raven, the science maven, PhD in molecular biology. So if you want to know science stuff, but also have it on a decolonized level, that's the person to go to. Dr. Christie, and their handle is dr.clo.flo, so Dr. Cloflo. And they are Indigenous professor in history working to decolonize history. So it's a beautiful take on what we really should be learning when it comes to American history. So there's that. We have Black Belt Babe, and I'm trying to get her on the show because I really love her perspective. But she is a social media reporter. She calls herself the People's Reporter, who gives great information on current affairs with passion. I'm going to tell you, she is left-leaning, so she gets passionate about things. But she is not afraid about calling out everyone, which is why I really enjoy her. Then you have Allie, ALY, and our handle is allyus.mom.in.germany. But she actually is combating U.S. propaganda with an outside perspective. She currently lives in Germany, but has her degree and has written many articles based on propaganda in the U.S. And I think that's a great perspective to have, being outside of the country. So her information is really good, especially right now when we're overwhelmed with so much, including social media being shut down or being biased or whatnot. She's got some great information for you. We have a couple of others that are not necessarily like misinformation, disinformation, but like just is delightful. I will say Blondie in China is a young woman named Amy who is a food and travel blogger who lives in China, and she does an amazing job in showcasing Chinese cuisine and food, like in such a respectful manner. And she loves spicy food, and everything she does is just kind. But it's nice to see she's a white person from, I want to say New Zealand. I really hope she's from New Zealand. But that does a lot of good food content, traveling all over different areas in China, trying different cuisines there. And like, you might not like everything she eats, but she does it in such a respectful manner that you can't help but want to try. So someone to look into. And then Veronica Lightning Horse, I just discovered her. She is a native and indigenous storyteller who gives a lot of great stories about lore and wisdom that she knows from her community. And the fact that she's sharing these stories, and she does it such a beautifully melodious way that it feels very homey, but there's so many lessons to learn. So very great to kind of like cleanse your feed, but also learn the good life lessons. And then we have other big names and sources that are not TikTok related, even though, yes, I do live on TikTok, I know. We have Jessica Valenti, who speaks about abortion rights and issues around the country. She's just published a book. We should probably go and read it soon. If you need information and about what is happening in the state of the U.S., the misinformation and disinformation that is being spread, and the propaganda against abortion rights, she's the person to go to. You have Akilah Hughes, who is a comedian and podcaster who talks about the issues at hand. She just has a lot of great information and content that I think is really important that we listen to. And then we have Imani Barbaran, who is a writer, speaker, and advocate for racial disability and human rights. She has a lot of disability content and disability activism because she is a disabled individual. Really great content, really good information to know. I think she gives a really great perspective when it comes to that conversation. Then we have Wawa Gathuro, who is a Black girl environmentalist. That is actually her site. She has a lot of good content about environmentalism, and especially when it comes to the intersectional portion of being a Black woman in this type of industry and what that means for the Black community in itself. You have Stacey Abrams. I feel like that's an obvious, but she is back out in full swing and having conversation about activism at this point in time. She kind of took, a step back for a minute, and now she's back. Ashley C. Ford, another fellow podcaster and author, really someone that we should be paying attention to and listening to. She's done a lot of the work that we've been begging for. You know what I mean about misinformation? We have Wagatwe Winjuki, who is another person that you should find on all the social medias. She does a great job in reporting some of the concerns that we should be having, and also kind of talks you down when you need to be talked down. I think we need that too. And then some sources that we think, and again, thank you, Christina, our producer, helped put some of this stuff together. ProPublica, which my partner's cousin works at, which is interesting. I love that. ProPublica, who has some really good content and information and articles, and I feel like it's a trusted site. PBS is doing a great job in reporting what's going on as well, even with all of like the hush-hush stuff. Some sites that you could visit for more information for abortion. You have abortionfinder.org. And then we've talked about the National Network of Abortion Funds, which is at abortionfunds.org. Those two give you information if you need access, or if you have questions, or if you need specifics, if you know what I mean. Then we have the Immigration Legal Resource Center, ilrc.org. We're going to have to come back and have a bigger conversation about immigration laws right now. But for those in need, this is a really good organization to look into. Of course, we talked about Bridget, and she is a part of Ultraviolet, and you can visit their site at weareultraviolet.org. They also are on all the social medias that you can find. The Bitter Southerner has actually been an amazing site when it comes to the issues and conversations happening in the South. So if you want to follow what's going on, and they've been talking about abortion rights, they've been talking about racial equality, all these things. So really good content from them, who, as you know, the U.S. is no longer part of the World Health Organization, but they are on TikTok and also on other social medias, and you can subscribe to their newsletter if you just want to keep in the know, which is important. And then there's thewellproject.org, which actually works with those who have HIV or AIDS. They work with like the women and girls specifically, and this includes trans women. And they actually have a really great page for trans activism and advocacy if you need those organizations. Obviously, the Trevor Project is another one. There's so many. There's a few organizations inside of Atlanta. There's a few organizations inside of like everywhere, hopefully, that we do want to talk about as well. But that's kind of a short list. I'm going to say it's a short list of resources that I think are trustworthy and dependable. People that I feel like do have really good content and get great information as well. We need to make sure that we are all aware and that we are getting the right information as well. Also, on top of that, and we're going to talk a little bit about this later, not being too overwhelmed. So sometimes just whittling down the list to those people you trust can be helpful, because a lot of the same people are going to tell you to breathe and take your time. So there you go. And if you have any that you would suggest, please send them our way, and we'll do a part 2 of more people and more lists.
Yes, always more lists. Well, listeners, you can contact us in many ways. Sometimes on social media. You could email us at hello@stuffwe'll-never-told-you.com or stephaniemomstuff@iheartmedia.com. You can find us on Blue Sky at Momstuff Podcast or on TikTok and Instagram at Stuff We'll Never Told You. We're also on YouTube. We have a TeePublic store, and we have a book you can get wherever you get your books. Thanks, as always, to our super producer, Christina, our executive producer, Maya, and our contributor, Joey.
Thank you.
And thanks to you for listening. Stuff We'll Never Told You is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, check out the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.